how to make this type of animation tween. Before you start tweening, you must first separate the body parts that you want to make the animation on. And for that, I recommend using Ibis Paint as it's simple and free to use. Once you have found the character you want to tween, open Ibis Paint and import the picture. Go to the selection layer and color the part that you want to animate. Once you are sure you have colored it all, go to the current layer and press cut, and then paste. That way, the body part that you want to tween is separated and is on a different layer. Also, make sure that once you have separated the body part, go back to the original layer and color the empty spaces. That way it doesn't look odd when you actually start to tween. Now, in the case of eyes, do what I previously told you. That is, go to the selection layer and color the eyes. Cut and paste. Once you have done that, go to the layer where you have cut out the eye. Now again, go back to the selection layer and color the lashes, and you guessed it. Cut and paste. Okay, so now that you have separated the body parts, open your respective editing app. In my case, I use the Blurr app, so the process might be a little different for other editing apps. Open a new project, and then import the PNGs that you had earlier saved from Ibis Paint. Make sure they are layered in a proper order. Once you have done that, parent the body parts like the arms, hair, eyes, etc. to the head. I recommend having some basic knowledge on nulls, grouping, and parenting first before proceeding to do this, cause it might be a little confusing for newbies, and I'm very shitty at explaining. Now, when it comes to tweening the body parts like the arms, just use the position or rotate option based on how you want to move the body part. If you feel like the animation isn't smooth enough, you can use the anchor option as well, even though it's not really necessary most of the time. Again, you need to have some basic knowledge on how this stuff works. Make sure to add keyframes and graphs when you want to start the tweening. I usually use the quartz or ease graphs for smoother animation. Now for the hair, there are actually two ways you can move it. Either you use the position or rotate option, like I told you before, or what I personally like to use for more easier and smoother animation, the distort refraction effect. I usually like to layer the hair twice, since my dumb is lazy to fill in the empty spaces for hair when separating the body parts. But if you aren't lazy like me and actually color the empty spaces of the hair, then you don't need to duplicate it again. If you're using the distort refraction effect, then I would recommend to increase the size and lower the intensity as much as you can. And of course, if you want a more smoother and clean animation, you can change the other effects as well. But again, I recommend having some basic knowledge first before you do so. Finally, for the eye-opening animation, make sure you have two separate layers for the lashes and the pupils. For the lashes, make 2 keyframes, and have the lashes go down just below the pupil in the first keyframe, and then back up in the second keyframe. For the graphs, you can use the circ out graph. Now for the pupils, use the wipe effect, and set the angle to 90 degrees so that the eye fully disappears. Now go to the start option and again, add 2 keyframes. Make sure they are in the same positions as the keyframes you had used for moving the lashes. In this case, for the first keyframe, make it around 23.2, and for the second keyframe, make it around 15.5. Use the same circ out graph for the pupils also, and yeah, you're done.
Hopefully this shitty tutorial was able to help you. Again, this is mainly for Blurr app users, so the process might be a bit different for other editing apps, and yeah, I'm sorry for the bad explanation. I tried my level best since this is my first tutorial. Anyways, goodbye.